Hello angels and welcome to another tutorial. Today we're going to be learning about web components. So what are web components? We have a lot of tags, a lot of HTML tags, and you can decide to create your own. Yeah, so web components are like your own custom HTML tags that has its own CSS and JavaScript encapsulated inside. So the logic and the CSS of that custom HTML tag you just created is inside that HTML tag. And with this, you can decide to use it inside your code, right? So why web components? Why do we use web components? The first reason why we use web components is because we can isolate the CSS style. So whenever you put CSS inside your custom HTML tag, it doesn't affect the DOM, and whatever CSS is in the DOM doesn't affect the CSS inside your custom HTML, inside your web component. The next reason is because it is framework agnostic. You could use it with whatever framework you like, whatever framework you like or you like working with, you could use it. The next reason is because it makes your code more semantic. If you look at usually HTML, you just see p tags, div, h1, b, and the like. But now you could call this particular custom HTML tag, you could call it profile card. And now whenever you see it, you know this is the profile card. It's not just divs and inputs. Yeah. And the next reason is it has lifestyle callback. So just like your favorite framework has lifecycle, this also has this there's also lifecycle in this one. Yeah, so this is the reason. This is a good reason to use it. And last but not least, it is future proof. You can use it with whatever framework you like. Like I said before, it is supported by all browsers. And so if something happens to your favorite framework, you know that nothing is going to happen to your web component, to your custom HTML tag. So yeah, these are the reasons why we use web components. So I created a new folder and brought that new folder into VS Code. And I'm going to install a basic vanilla JavaScript project in it using Vite. So I just opened a new terminal. I'm going to command prompt, and then I'm going to say npm create Vite dot means create that project in this particular folder. The package name I just say yt comp, that is YouTube component, whatever. Then I'm going to select vanilla. Then I'm choosing JavaScript. Okay. And so I'm going to say npm install. Okay. Next, I'm just going to do npm run dev, just like they said up here. So that's going to be, so I'm just going to press Ctrl and then click on this. Okay, well, that had opened before. Okay, so this is what is here. We can see that. So if we go to our source folder, we could see our index.html file, and there you can see our main.js file. What we are seeing on the, or what we saw on the screen, is this is where it's coming from. So I'm just going to remove everything here. Okay. So now let's start. So to create a web component, the first thing we need to do is we need to extend a class called HTML element. So that's going to be class. So I'm just going to call this custom element extend HTML elements. Then constructor. If you don't know anything about class in JavaScript, please do let me know in the comment section. Probably I'll do a tutorial on it so that you understand what it's about. Yeah. Then we say super But if you really don't know much about it, don't worry, just follow the tutorial. You get it. Then super, and then we'll say this dot inner HTML. Then we're going to use backticks here. So I'm going to use h1. So in here, I'm going to say hello world. All right. And next, I'm going to say custom element. No, it's custom elements. Sorry, not element. Custom elements dot define. Then here you give the name you want to use. So we're just going to say what are we going to call this? Let us say custom LM. Then you bring in the class you just created, which is this. So that's custom element. Okay, fantastic. So now if we go back to our index.html, this, and we can now use our element or our tag that we just created. So that's custom element. If we close it, we save, we go back to our browser, you can see now we have hello world in there. We just created our first web component, and truly this could be it for you, but I mean, it doesn't really make much sense to just put in a h1 inside your web component. There is much more that the web component can do. So the first thing we want to do is we want to be able to style our elements. Yes, and to do that, we would bring in the shadow DOM. Yeah, so if you've been hearing about shadow DOM before now, yeah, this is what shadow DOM is about. Okay, so back to our code. Then under our super, we're going to say this dot attach shadow. Then we're going to say mood, and our mood is going to be open, right? Then instead of just this dot inner HTML, it's going to be this dot shadow root, and this is, so with this we can now style our element and it wouldn't bleed out. So how do we style our elements? That's pretty simple. So we just go here, and then we're going to say style, like, you know, the way we bring in style in index.html. Exactly. So style, I know this is hard to write, but it is what it is. Then we're going to say h1, yeah, h1, and then I'll just say color. I'll just pick something simple and I'll say aqua and save. If we go back to, you can see now we have this being aqua. So yes, so now if we decide to, let's go back here. If we decide to create like a style, you know, something like this. If we do h1 and we say color red, it wouldn't affect it in any way, shape or form. Even if we decide, let's be much more specific, if we decide to even give this an ID, let's say custom. If we go back and change this to custom, see, nothing changes. That's because we've activated the power of the shadow DOM. So now style inside here, even if we do like another h1 here, you know, let's, okay, yeah, if we do another h1 and we do wow, remember our styling for h1 is still here, which is aqua. If we go back, you can see that doesn't affect this. So you can see our style is not bleeding out. Our style has been encapsulated inside our web components, which is the power of web component here. So yeah, great. So yeah, next we're going to talk about the life cycle of a web component. That's another power of web components. Let's go back to our code and then bring in our first life cycle. So in our main.js, we are going to say connected callback. And we're just going to do a simple console log. And we're just going to say now in the DOM. And we save. If we go back to our browser, if we inspect our console, we can see now in the DOM. Okay, which leads us to, so whenever this custom element is brought into the DOM, this would be triggered. That's callback. That connected callback would be triggered. Okay. So if you're familiar with React, yes, it's something like that. Let me close this. And if we go, so the next one is disconnected callback. This is triggered whenever we remove this custom element from the DOM. So this connected callback. Okay, then console.log removed in the removed from the DOM. Okay. Of course, we haven't removed it from the DOM, so it's not going to be triggered. So let's just quickly create a button that will remove that element. So I'm going to put this custom element inside this one. So I clicked on Alt Up, and then I'm going to create a button here. So I'm just going to say button. I'm just going to say remove. Okay. So quickly, let me come here, and then I'll say const app is equal to document get element by ID. It's app. Then const then btn is document dot query selector, and that's button. Then const, then this custom element we just created, I'm also going to put it here. That's just going to say custom lm is equal to document dot query selector. What did we call it? Okay, custom lm dash lm. Okay, so I'm adding an event listener to the button, so that's going to btn dot add event listener on click, and then I'm going to say app dot remove child, then the child I want to remove is the custom lm, so that should take it out of the DOM. Okay, so if we go back to our browser, and if I click on remove, the hello world is removed, and you can see removed from the DOM. So yeah, so with that we've learned about the life cycle of of our web component. Before we move on, let's talk about one more life cycle, which is the attribute changed callback. Now, it's not all the time we want to encapsulate all our logic inside our web component. Sometimes we want it to be affected by external factors. So instead of, let's say for example, now we have hello world. If we want it to be hello Femi, hello Tola, hello Charles, if we want it to be a name, we can have that too. So if we go back to our code here in our custom element, we can say name is equal to Femi, right? Of course, it's not going to show inside. It's not going to show here. So how can we make it show? So instead of world here, remember we're using backtick, so we can bring in JavaScript here. So we can say this dot get attribute, and we can say the attribute we want to get, which is name. All right. So now we can see hello Femi in here. Okay. Now we can decide to change it, and let's see what happens if we change it right now. So I'm commenting that out. I'm going to say custom lm dot set attribute name, which is the attribute, and then new value, the value we want to give it. So let's say $. So if we go back, if I click on this, it's not changing because it has not been registered yet. So how do we do that? So what we want to do is here, we could say static, then get, then we say observed attributes, sorry, not attribute. Okay. And then we say return. Now, what we just want to observe here is just name. We just want to observe name. If you want to put other things, fine. But for now, we're just observing name. And so right here, we're going to put that the life cycle we want to look at. So that's going to be attribute changed callback. So there are three things in here: the name, the old value, if you want to use anything with it, but what we're concerned about is this one, the new value, right? But first, let's put a guard here. Let's just see if DOM is not there yet. If DOM isn't there yet, so we'll just say if there is no DOM, so this dot, why did I keep saying DOM? Like if this component is, the shadow root is not there for this particular component yet, so we'll just return. And then we can now decide to change the element. Okay. So how we can do that? Okay, so we'll just say const. Let's just say header. I don't know what to let's just say, yeah, let's just call this header is equal to document dot query. No. What am I saying? Oh, this is gonna be, sorry. I think I just got used to normal vanilla JavaScript. Sorry, I got carried away. So this is gonna be shadow root the query selector. Then what we want to pick is the H1, or we could decide to, okay, since there is an ID here, so we could just say get, so we can just say .get element by ID, and then we will say custom. So if header exists, so if there's a header, then we want to change it. So we can say header dot inner text, or yeah, let's just say inner text or text content. I think, yeah, let's just use text content is equal to whatever. So now we want it to be hello, the new value. So if I save, and if we go back, so now we have hello Femi. If I click, we can see now we have hello Tola. So yeah, that's what we do when we want to listen to changes from an external factor, instead of having all our logic inside our web component. Another thing we can do with our web component is to add interactivity. So what I'm basically saying is that we can add event listeners to it. If we go back to our code, and so here I'm just going to create a new button. I'm going to say interact. Then here I'm going to say const. I'm just going to so const button, just say btn is equal to this dot shadow root dot query selector button. So I'm essentially doing the same thing here. I want to show you guys how distinct the shadow DOM is from the normal DOM. Okay, then we can now say btn dot add event listener and click. Then what do we want to happen when we click? We'll just do an alert. So we just do alert. It is clicked. All right. If we go back, let me just close this, and then you can see it is clicked. So that's a way of adding interactivity to your web component. We can add interactivity to our web component. In order to make our web components much more flexible to use, we could decide to change the properties. We're not talking about the attributes, but the properties of the web components from outside. So we can externally change this. This would help us to make our web components much more dynamic and easier to use. If we go back to our code, right here, I'm just going to bring and create another h1. I'm just going to say count here. Then I'm going to bring in something just here. So I'm going to say this dot underscore count is equal to, let's say, 20, right? And if I go back here, and I say this dot underscore count, if we go back to that, we can, why is that happening? Okay, I've seen why. Okay, so now we can see count 20. So what we want to do is we want to change that 20 from, we want to change this, we want to change 20 to 40, right? So I'm going to give this an ID. I'm just going to call it counter, right? Then here at the base here, I'm going to say render. So we're just creating a new function here. We're going to call the render somewhere else, but for now, this is the function. Here is where whatever change we want to happen. Yeah, this is where we're going to do it. So I'm going to say const count display is equal to this dot shadow root dot get element by ID, and I think I called it counter. Yes, counter. Right. Then I'm going to say count display dot text content is equal to this dot count. Okay. Now, just here, I'm going to say set count. So this is the property we want to change externally. We can call it whatever we want, but if we want to change something externally and we want it to affect our web component, yeah, the name we give it, this is it. So we can say banana, whatever, it's up to you. So I'm going to say val, and let's just say banana. The much more ridiculous it is, the better, so that you understand it. So that's going to be this dot underscore count is equal to val, so that you don't think the names must rhyme. Yeah. So now we now call that function. That's this the render. Right. Okay. So now what we could do is outside here, we can now have maybe the same button. So now I'm just going to comment this out. So what this button is going to do, it is going to change a property. So it's just going to change the custom element dot banana. Can see the reason why I gave it banana. Then I say 40. Save. So now if we go back and I click on this remove, we can see 40. Okay, oh sorry, I should have instead of just putting it, let's make this hello. Instead of it should be count. Let's just copy all this. Sorry. So that there's consistency. Yeah. Okay, so we go back. So you can see count 20, 40. So now we can change properties of the web component from outside. This makes our web components much more flexible. Yeah. We can also decide to use our web components like building blocks. So like in React, the way we could put in a component inside another component using that children. Then in Vue, we could use slots. And so in normal HTML, for example, you could see this custom element is inside this div. So we can also do the same thing for this custom element. So I can put in a h2 here, and I'll say this is an inner element. If we go back to our browser, nothing should have changed. We can't see that element here. But to bring it inside, it's much more simple. So we just go back here, and then we just say slot. And then we say slot. And if we go back, now we have this is an inner element here. So now you can imagine how you could use your web components as building blocks. Yeah, just like you would do for a framework. So far, we have been writing our HTML for our web component inside here. So we have been writing it like this, but that's not good enough. It's not like this is bad, but if you want maybe something much more convenient for you, you can decide to create a template here and then use the template inside our JavaScript. So what we have to do is we just say template. Earlier I was complaining that writing it inside the backtick was really inconvenient. So this is a convenient way of doing it. Then we could say ID, we could say custom template. and we can just cut what we have here. Yeah, cut, and then we paste that. Okay, then what we could do here is we can now say const template is equal to document dot get elements by id. We called it custom template, and then we will clone it. So that's clone is equal to template dot content dot clone node. Then we say true. So then we would attach it here. So let me just put this separate. So instead of it just being like this, we'll now say dot append child. Then we append the clone. Oh, I said clone. No, clone. And if we go back, you can see it works just like we had it before. It's there. This is the inner element. This is there. Now we could see that this text is still there, and that might not be exactly what we want. So I could just even remove this and remove this. So now it's just that. So back to our main.js file, I'll just copy this for the counter and just put it down here. So we go back. It looks just the same way. It will function just the same way. If we can see that works. If I do this, it changes to 40. So it works just the same way like we did before. So now we've been able to, we can now go back here and make it as complex as possible, and to be easy for you to write in here. So another thing I wanted to point out is that you can see this shadow root, or this attached shadow. Let's just concentrate on this shadow root. This shadow root is just like our document. So you know, outside, if you type like just here like your regular JavaScript, you could do document.getElement by id, .querySelector, .append child, .set attribute, all those kind of things. Just imagine this, your shadow root, like that. It's just like that. It's, yes, it just looks just like that. It's not, yeah, it just functions like that. So this is like your document inside your web component. So you could do pretty much what that document does. So if I comment this out and I say const subhead is equal to document dot create element. Let's say we want to create a h3, and then I say subhead dot text content is equal to hooray. I can now see this dot shadow root dot append child. Then I can append the subhead, just like we would if we did document.append child. If we go back and now I click on this interact, you can see this is appended. So I just wanted you to take note of that. Yeah. So with this, we have come to the end of today's tutorial. Thank you so much for staying to the end. Thank you so much. If you've learned something new today, please do give a thumbs up. And if you've learned something today, also subscribe. We're trying to grow. We're trying to grow the channel, and we're trying to reach more people. So thank you so much. In the next video, definitely would be learning something new as usual. And yeah, until the next video, bye. Toodaloos.